I'm doing this video to respond to a message that I received today. I'm wondering what we should be anticipating to see after the witnesses are killed or imprisoned. Do you think everything, persecution of the multitude in white robes, etc., will escalate quickly? I'm trying to wrap my head around what everything is going to look like. I was just talking to a friend who works in the White House, and she was saying that they expect the government to be shut down for a while longer. I'm wondering what that might have to do with anything. Okay, so I'm going to answer all these questions. The first is, what should you be anticipating to see after the witnesses are killed? It says in Revelation 12 that the devil is going to go after you. It says in Revelation 9 that the first woe is going to begin, which means when that star falls from the sky, when that angel falls from the sky, when Satan, the dragon, falls from the sky, from the heavenly realms, loses his place in the heavenly realms, he's going to be angry. He's going to be angry that he's been triumphed over because of the testimony of the witnesses and the blood of the Lamb. And he knows his time is short, and he's going to go after you. That's what we're told in Revelation 12. In Revelation 9, we're told that the woes begin. Why do the woes begin? Because they have killed God's prophets again. And in fact, it seems to be for the last time. I believe these are the last prophets that are going to come, as far as Scripture is concerned. So the woes are going to begin, and anyone who does not have the seal of God, remember that the seal of God is placed on you before any of the trumpets start. So the seal of God has already been on you if you have it, but you have to be bearing the fruit of having the seal of God. Otherwise, all you're doing is saying that you have the seal of God, and it's a false alarm, which means you have to return to Him. There is a plague that is going to come on all those who do not have the seal of God. And that plague is not like, an illness or disease kind of plague. It is a plague that is going to come on them through an army. The image of the Antichrist is that army. It is going to rise to power, and it is going to start persecuting the very people who worship it. So that's for the people, you're going to see that is happening. That's for the people who do not have the seal of God. Remember, this is a divided kingdom. They don't have any loyalty to each other. And why do you think that God is exposing what the image of the Antichrist has been doing? That they killed Charlie Kirk, that they, attacked the USS Liberty, what they did on 9/11. Why do you think he's been exposing that? Because they're going to do it again, and they're going to do it more. This is the first woe. It marks a shift. It marks a very important shift. It's the first time, even though those who have the seal of God have already had the seal of God for the entire time that the witnesses have been here, and prior to any of the trumpets blowing, by this fifth trumpet, the word uses language that is very different from what it uses elsewhere in Scripture or with the other first four trumpets. Now it says, those who do not have the seal of God, because something has been decided. And you know what's been decided? Either you've returned to Him or you haven't. Those who have not returned to Him have been shaved off. So Jerusalem, Israel, true Jerusalem, true Israel, God's people, have been shaved down into a remnant by that time. I only have two more nights here. 2 more nights, tonight and tomorrow night. The following night, I'm fair game. And there's no reason why God would need to keep me here longer. For what? I've done what I was supposed to do for 1,260 days. Now it's my time to suffer. So how long do you have to return, people of God? Or those claiming to be of God? How long do you have to return? You've been listening to this message. You've had fair opportunity to hear the message and respond. So that's what's going to happen. He's going to go after you. You're going to be persecuted. You will not die until the 45 days. Until that period of great distress, such as has not happened since the beginning of the world until then. Daniel 11 talks about, at the very end of the chapter, the annihilation that the image of the Antichrist is going to go out and do, because reports are going to alarm him. And he's going to set out in a great rage to destroy and annihilate many. You're the many, if you have the seal of God. Now is the time. This is what you should expect. Now is the time where you are to live out your covenant. You have lived long enough for yourself and for the world. The other thing I want to say about this, guys, is that it's not enough for you to come to truth in one area. You need to discern all of the things I'm saying. Some of you are still going to doctors. Some of you still are doctors who stand in the role of idol and of healer, even though God has said he is your healer. Exodus 15:26, and you need to discern that. I want you guys to know something. Some of you emailed me and you want to assemble with the body. But then there are some things, I'm just going to be really honest with you. You email me, you express interest in assembling with the body, then you send me a very weird email saying weird things that are not coming from God. Not all of you who emailed me are ready. Not all of you who emailed me am I going to subject to my daughter and my son. I'm not going to do that. You need to be ready. You need to be accountable as to whether or not you're ready to assemble with the body. And some of you are doing some weird stuff. I have gotten some weird messages. This morning I got a message from a woman who went to heaven and apparently got recipes from Esther and speaks to dead dogs. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. No, you cannot assemble with my kids. Go return to God. That's the weirdest of the messages. But what I'm telling you right now is if you don't have the discernment as to whether you have not returned to God, and you don't have the discernment as to whether you're ready to assemble, it is not my job to keep telling you. You didn't do it. So if you don't receive an email today, that's why. I'm doing the same thing that I have been responsible for doing this entire time, and that is to discern whether people are circumcised and are to enter God's sanctuary. I'm not going to apologize for it, and I'm also not going to waste my time sending you a message telling you yet again what is required of you as far as returning to God and being restored by Him. I'm not going to do it again. Those of you who did receive an email from me today, you need to make sure you're in the right standing. You need to make sure that you've gone and discerned all of these things with God. Because if you're coming to the assembly and you are still practicing these things that I have told you are not of God, that are of the Antichrist, that are idolatry, you can't assemble. You can't. You haven't discerned what I'm telling you the Word says. You cannot set up idols. You cannot set yourself up as an idol. You need to go discern those things with God. I know it's hard. I gave up an entire career too. I know it's hard. But God had me living it out in front of you as a living, breathing witness of the covenant and what He requires before you even had to do it, so that you would know that that's what's required. Go discern all of it. You cannot pick and choose what you're going to discern. All of it needs to be discerned so that you are in the right standing with God in order to be able to enter His house. There is going to be persecution of the multitude in white robes, just like there's been persecution of the witnesses. There has been persecution of the witnesses. People have just not been able to kill the witnesses until it's their time. Just like Jesus. Just like Jesus said, it's not my time yet. But there was still persecution. People were still calling Him a devil. They were still trying to drive Him off cliffs. They were still trying to stone Him. Remember, He didn't go to that, was saying that He wasn't going to go to the temple for the Passover celebration. And then he ended up going, and what did he tell his brother? His brother said, well, those who want to be known, go out there, basically. And Jesus said to him, well, you go to the festival. The world can't hate you. The world hates me because I tell it its ways are wrong. So if you have the seal of God, you need to be speaking the truth, and the world's not going to like it. You're going to be slandered. You're going to be persecuted. You're going to be hated. You're going to be suffering because the life that God has called you to is not a life of importance here. You're going to be brought low. You should expect that. And if you're unwilling to do it, to be brought into the position that you're required to be in, that half measures covenant is not going to save. The entire covenant needs to be fulfilled. Your deeds need to be fulfilled in the sight of God. You are protected from death because what you're doing is fulfilling your covenant. You are not protected from suffering. You will suffer. You will be persecuted. I believe it's going to escalate quickly for two reasons. One, that the image of the Antichrist or the Antichrist kingdom is going to be given power to kill the witnesses. That's a quick escalation for that to happen. And then he's going to go after you, as is written in Revelation 12. So he's angry because he knows his time is short. This is the reign of the Antichrist. So yes, I believe it's going to escalate quickly because of what the word says, number one. And number two, because of what I'm seeing. Because of this has been escalating quickly. It's just that you need to sit down and discern it and make sure that you understand what's going on right now. Because otherwise you're just going to be like, oh, yeah, that president's an idiot, right? Yeah, we know he's an idiot. Well, what you don't know is how much power these systems are going to have. This kingdom is going to have. Yes, an idiot. Absolutely. So why does he get away with this stuff? Have you asked yourself that question? I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. And if you need to know what it's going to look like in order to prepare, you have the wrong posture. The posture you need to take is going to God and asking him, how do you want to prepare me? You need to start receiving from him. You need to be honest with yourself about the things that are difficult to be honest about, that need to change. With regard to the government shutdown, to be honest, I don't really know what a government shutdown, what all it affects. So I just did a Google search. How does a government shutdown affect executive power? The way that I understand that, there's no one thing, by the way, like the Project Esther, Project 2025, fake Israel, the ships of the western coastlands that are opposing Netanyahu as is prophesied in Daniel 11, and how he vents his fury against the Holy Covenant, etc., etc. None of these, no one thing is the thing to focus on. It's all of these things that are coming together to make this power rise, to give it to give this system, this kingdom, power. What stands out to me with regard to government shutdown is that there are services that are allowed to continue that are deemed to be essential services, but the government determines what are essential services and what are non-essential services. They determine the prioritization of funding. I don't know if from here on out the government is ever going to not be shut down. It seems to me that they're using this in order to coerce and blame and enact their agenda. So even here, when talking about executive discretion, it says a president could potentially maximize the impact of a shutdown to increase political pressure. The president retains the ability to exercise constitutional responsibilities, such as serving as commander-in-chief. So what I feel from this is that they are able to eliminate or shut down other regulatory functions and services that might hinder what they're trying to do. Also, the issue of funding is really important because in Revelation 13, it says that the false prophet, which I've demonstrated to you to be the United States, the false prophet is able to force all to receive the mark of the beast or not be able to buy or sell. Look at the ways that this is happening. Cutting the funding for institutions and universities, etc. Blacklisting people. I can't remember the guy's name. His first name is Miles. I can't remember his last name, but he used to work for Trump, and he came out as a whistleblower, and Trump has made his life miserable and accused him of treason and completely alienated him. And he's not the only one. And if you listen to his rhetoric, this is what he is attempting to do with all people he perceives to be enemies. All who speak against him, who speak against fake Israel. This is his intention. So under prohibition on spending, the Anti-Deficiency Act makes it illegal for government officials to spend or obligate money in excess of what Congress has appropriated, except where Israel is concerned. No, Israel can continue to receive bombs and funding, but nothing in the U.S. This is bananas. Our own military can't be paid, but theirs can by the United States. I don't know, by the way, I'm still waiting for God to fulfill some of the things he's had me talk about. I know that he will, because he's fulfilled everything that he's had me talk about. And I know that I went back to him again and again and again, telling him, I don't want to speak this unless I'm certain that it's true. So, I don't speak idly or flippantly or irresponsibly. I go back and I discern it with him. But I want to remind you that I spoke about a financial shutdown, and this might be it, or at least related to it. But you need to remember that he talks about, it's not just me talking about this. He talks about it in his word in Revelation 6. He talks about sword, famine, wild beast, and plague. Well, you don't work the land, so your famine is the lack of money. That would have been your livelihood if you were working the land. And he's enacted this pattern with World War I, World War II, and we already know what World War III is. It's the Antichrist, guys. We also know the power that's going to rise. Surprise, it's Israel. Stop listening to, people who set themselves up as experts and psychics online who say that Israel is falling and Netanyahu's going down. Oh, he will. He will. But it's not happening yet. He's going to rise to power. He's going to be successful until the time of the end is completed. And the United States will continue to retain some element of power. But if you look at the United States right now, they don't have power. They have been invaded. They're being blackmailed. So as far as I can see with regard to the government shutdown, I'll tell you two things that I believe are going on. One is this is a manipulation of power in order to coerce, in order to punish, in order to, enact agenda. And the second thing is that it's part of destroying the United States. It's part of this so-called superpower falling in order for Israel to rise. But remember, it's not going to be any one thing. It is different factors that are coming together right now. The Epstein list is one. The exposure of the blackmail, of the bribery, etc. All of it is putting a picture together. It's not going to be one thing. Because, the thing is, if you look at one thing, then you're like, oh, we can't even deny it. But if it's a culmination of all of these factors that God is weaving together in order to fulfill, you get sleepy. You fall asleep. You get bored, don't you? I know you do, because I've been speaking this message for a long time, and I've watched you get bored. I've watched you fall asleep. So that's all I feel right now. That's all that I can really discern. I don't know. Again, God's prophets are not. God doesn't give him the play-by-play of how he's doing things and what's going to happen next. I can only speak on what God's showing me and what I know from Scripture that's going to happen. But even what God shows me and what I know from Scripture, which is prophecy. Scripture is prophecy. So it shouldn't surprise you that God's prophets don't have a play-by-play on how this is going to go down. None of them did. They spoke what God told them to speak. And the same thing with the Scriptures. God has given you the Scriptures. He's given you prophecy. Does that mean that he's giving you the play-by-play on how things are going to go down? No, he hasn't. And most of the time when you think you understand how it's going to go down, God does something totally different. And then you're like, my goodness, I didn't see that happening, but okay, I know you're doing it. Anyway, please discern this message with God. We got matters of days and nights here, guys. Return.